Tell people a little bit about yourself, I guess, to start with.
Oh, about me?
Yeah,
because
a lot of the people that are going to watch this are not familiar with who you are.
Don't know who I am. Yeah, well, I'm a writer and a producer and an actor here in New York. Right now I help alongside Joe Moses with Joe Moses one-man shows as a writer and a producer for that, and in most of the shows, an actor as well. Yeah, what other details?
How long have you been writing?
Yeah, great. I've been an actor. I did musical theater from the age of 12, so I was always an actor growing up. And then I was this is my dorky side, but I was a competitive public speaker throughout
debate.
High school. Yeah, kind of. It was like speech and debate. So I never did I didn't do the actual head-on person to person debates, but I just did these grand oratory events where you just speak to people. So I did that because it was really cool to do. And then I probably started writing for myself when I was 14 or 15, writing my own stuff. So, and then probably really decided when I was 18 that this is what I wanted to do for a whole career, and kind of pulled the trigger and been going at it since. So.
You said you did musical theater growing up. How did you decide comedy was the way to do it?
Well, I did. The first thing I ever did was Guys and Dolls, and I was cast. I always had a Sinatra thing. I'm a huge Sinatra fan.
Okay.
And I auditioned for Marlon Brando's role, Sky Masterson, but they gave me Sinatra's role. I don't even know why I didn't audition for Sinatra's role to begin with, but that's what they gave me. So, and it's kind of a funny story, or a funny musical. But comedy itself, as opposed to doing drama, I don't know. I just kind of fell into it. I guess I always knew the brands of television. I've always really wanted to do late night TV. That was always very influential on me as a kid. And so I think when I decided kind of the brands of entertainment I wanted to get into, it just kind of fit because I've been such a fan for my whole life, pretty much.
When I first learned who you were doing a show, Hire Me, Stephen Colbert. Are you still working on that? Can you explain it a little bit?
It's been put on the back burner. But basically, this is when I was 21 and I was living in Los Angeles. I used to get really frustrated because it's such a difficult. Any industry is difficult, but in entertainment, I realized there's no one way to do it. There's no one way to succeed. It's not everyone has to go to law school or everyone has to, it's just there's infinite possibilities to find a path to success. So I had no idea how to be a writer for television, so I basically created this live show and a campaign called Stephen Colbert Hire Me, where I basically wrote entire episodes of The Daily Show or Colbert Report myself. I wrote an entire, I would write and perform it live, an hour-long show every month, and I would perform as the host, and I had correspondents come on, and it was great. I ran it here in New York for about a year. I started in Los Angeles and then did it here in New York for a year. And since working with Joe, it's been kind of put on the back burner a little bit, but it's still something I guess technically I'm involved with.
And you guys met at the Pit.
Yeah.
Joe. How did you become so much more involved in the Joe Moses one-man shows?
The one-man show. That's never one man. It was crazy. Actually, I knew Jamie Lynn first.
Okay.
I knew Jamie Lynn Beatty for a long time. And then, so when I met Joe, we knew her in common, so, we chat and all that. But Joe came and saw one of my Colbert shows and knew he kind of wanted to get something like that off the ground for himself. And then, originally I don't know, you might remember, I just used to, host the Joe. I was just hey, welcome to the show, and then I'd basically leave. That was it. But we did, we had the Starkid show, which is what me and Joe called the Starkid show, but it was the show
in January, at the beginning of,
November, right around when the space tour ended here in New York. So we had Jamie Lynn was back, and we had Richter and Walker, and I think Megan and Charlene were here. We were supposed to have Dylan in the show. So that was the first show, the week before. Joe was hey, can you come, write? I really want you to write the show. So I wrote a bunch of the sketches for it. And I still thought that was going to be it. And then he called me the afternoon, 3 hours before everyone was supposed to go on stage. He said Dylan had to fly back to Chicago. So we had like all these empty spots throughout the show that I had written for Dylan. Like I'd watched the videos online, like I kind of gauged where he was, his like skill sets as a performer. So I was like, okay, so I'll write these bits for him. So Joe's like, I need you to do it. Which luckily, like I wrote it all, so I knew all the words, so it wasn't a problem. So I did that show, which was really cool to do alongside guys like Rick Durkin Walker. So I was basically in that whole show, and since then I've been writer and one of the co-actors. Yeah, since then, which has been cool. It was lucky that Dylan had to fly back, so I was kind of like, I still haven't met Dylan, but I kind of like owe a little bit of the success to him because he could not stay in New York for
I'm sure you'll meet him soon.
Yeah.
Do you think you guys will like change the name? Like,
I don't know. JMoms has a cool ring to it. I don't know. Plus on like Twitter, like people are just like, oh, JMoms. Like when I met you, she came in and she's like, oh, I met you at JMoms. You know, it just kind of rolls. I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Maybe we can make JMoms stand for something else now.
Stand for something else. I don't know. But it is like, I don't know. It is cool. Like we always keep in mind that like when we do the show, like it is his show. It's based off his popularity and the success he's had. So even though there's always going to be, I guess, other people involved and other players who are there, you know, we don't want to lose focus that it's Joe's opportunity to kind of do something big. So.
Yeah. So speaking of his success, how are you handling being immersed in the Starkid world?
Actually, how am I handling it? I don't know. It's crazy. The first thing I ever did for Starkids was the Starship screening when they did Starship. Yeah, last year, which was cool because Joe basically I just hosted that also, just like ran like the question and answer for. So I think Lauren was here, Julia was in town, Corey was here. Yeah, so it was a good group of them who came into New York for the weekend. And I was just kind of like the MC. And that was my first glimpse into just kind of how awesome and crazy and high energy this world is for the fans. And I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. But since I've been more involved, yeah, I don't know, it's kind of cool. Now with like a street team and all that, I don't know. I'm still trying to piece it all together, but I love it though. My parents just came to the show, our most recent show, and they still can't get over, you know, kind of what it's like for all
Yeah, because I mean, I've been here, I've seen most of the JMoms, and so I'm watching like your popularity go up. Like after the show, like we're here to meet Joe, and then it's like there's a group around you.
That's so stupid. Like there's like no reason. I still in my head, I'm like, oh, like this is great. Like this is what I want, you know, of course, for like a career. But there's still a big part of me that's kind of like, this is there's no reason you should even be looking at me right now. But thank you. No, I'm very appreciative of it. But I was trying to piece it all together.
I'll let you know how the views go on this.
Yeah, right. 0 views. Well,
that's not true at all. There's at least 100 girls who are going to watch it once.
At least your street team.
Well, that's it.
Yeah, I think they're almost at 100.
My roommate, by the way, is in the street team. He joined the street team. Yeah, Murphy joined. He like after the last show because he was there and saw the whole thing. He's like, oh, I gotta join. He's like one of the last people I'd want ever involved with anyone street team related. He knows way too many bad things about me. But
and he probably just wants to make fun of you with all the girls like flailing over.
Yeah, he knew about the interview from the street team. He's like, oh yeah, I saw a bunch of the questions that fans were posting.
Oh yeah, that's what I was pulling up on my phone before because I couldn't get to them earlier. Are you planning on doing other things? Are you just solely like working with Joe right now? Are you have upcoming projects or anything?
Honestly, I mean, everything Joe and I are doing is really become like a full-time job. We honestly work on it like 7 days a week. Between when we're not doing like the actual like writing aspect of it, the whole general like production stuff, you know, in terms of like plans for the future or shooting stuff or talking about, you know, kind of what we want to do with the show is kind of all encompassing. So for now, this is it. I do have auditions and I book and work on little things or do other live shows with friends who kind of ask me to hop in, but for the foreseeable future, this is it. But I love doing it though. It's been the best opportunity I've had yet for my career. So,
would you ever go back to musical theater? Like, could you see yourself in a Starkid play?
In a Starkid play specifically? I don't know. I would definitely do. In the wildest, I guess so. Yeah, in like the wildest ambitions, yeah, I could definitely on like a Broadway or so. Yeah, I could definitely get back into musical theater and do it. Broadway is something I want to do at some point. I'm kind of like one of those where I have like a shelf of like 1,000 things I want to do. I was like, you know what I mean? Like there's one thing like they tell you. I've always thought it was nonsense, but they tell you like when you start off as like an actor or whatever, they're like pick one thing and focus on it because there's so many people who just want to do that one thing and competitively to stay a step ahead, like in trying to make a name for yourself. Like if you want to be an actor, like just focus on acting. You want to, and I've always been like, no, there's no reason I can't kind of have the various levels of success along different fields because there are people who do it really well. So even though I'm like a comedy writer and producer or a host, like, yeah, Broadway would be something I'd love to do.
Is there any roles that you would like to do on Broadway? Like,
you know, I don't know. I haven't really thought of it. The first thing that came to my mind is my favorite role. But I can never do it nearly. I mean, he just nailed it. Was Mark Rylance, who's become like my favorite Broadway actor, and he did a show called Labette that ran last year with David Hyde Pierce, and it's set a couple centuries ago, and it's all it's a whole rhyming play, but it's a comedy. It's amazing. But Rylance plays kind of like this clowny jester. He's an actor, but he's like certifiably insane. And he has you talk about monologue, he has a 29-minute monologue to open up the show. And it's you're on like the edge of your seat the entire time. It sounds really boring, but it's amazing. Yeah. So, yeah, it would be like some crazy character like that, probably.
Okay. At the last JMoms, you guys parodied How to Succeed. Was that your idea, or was that Joe's idea?
That was Joe. That was all Joe.
The whole, like, he came up with everything, too? Or?
The How to Succeed thing, yeah. Yeah, that was all Joe. He knew... We're trying to, like, add a little bit more structure to the show. Mm-hmm. So we call that, like, our through line. So there's something that we can always kind of go back to.
Right.
And that worked well for, like, a New York audience, because I feel like most of the people had seen the show.
Right.
So they knew, they knew the band. I haven't seen How to Succeed. So when he brought, like, the first draft, I was like, this all seems really good. Apparently there's a book, and there's some narrator. And he told me, he's like, yeah, it's Anderson Cooper. And I was like, okay, great. I'm like, guys, I didn't go to, like, an art school at all. Like at NYU or Michigan. I went to Villanova University, which is not like an art. It's not known for like actors. It's like very big in like engineering, business, and nursing.
So it turned you off from that stuff, and you're like, "Fuck it, I'm gonna go to comedy."
Kind of, yeah. I always knew I kind of always knew I'd want to be in like entertainment, but I didn't want to base an entire collegiate education off of that. It would have been amazing to go to like a musical theater school or something like in NYU or something, get 4 years of experience in that, but. No, I went to Villanova, so I ended up being an English major, and then, just kind of like following my passion for linguistics and language and stuff like that, which helps me now, of course. But I was just like, oh, fuck it, I'll just have fun in college.
Doesn't Matt teach English?
Matt's an English teacher, yeah.
Do you guys have a good time with that?
We do talk. We're kind of both English nerds, yeah. He teaches, he's all over the place. He teaches poetry.
So I wanted to ask about, do you guys kind of never, Joe mentioned this to me months ago, that you guys were going to try to be like more adult themed, like a little more grown up.
Yeah.
Is that going to happen at all?
Yeah. What do you mean, like a
JMoms? Yeah. Like he had said something about like trying to do like a late night.
Yeah. We've considered doing we've talked about doing like an over 21 show, maybe like in the basement of the pit, just kind of something that's like a little more. Just kind of like fuck it, with like a fucking attitude of like, we'll do whatever. I'm sorry for my bad language.
Please.
Okay. Because I have actually.
My channel's not.
I have curbed back my language like 6 times already in this interview, and I've been like, shit.
Okay, so yeah, adult.
Oh, like an adult thing. Yeah, I mean we've talked about it.
I would love that so much.
You know what? I mean, what's weird is like, not weird, but it's interesting to kind of take, I guess, what's like the basic Starkid's fan base. Which tends to be a little younger, at least than that we are.
I feel like they're louder. I don't think that there's more of them. I think that they're just.
Who, the fans?
Yeah, like the younger ones.
Yeah.
But
14-year-olds, wow. Yeah.
But I think they're just louder. Like I think they're more passionate. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure. Joe, of course, Joe's used to that world. This way, he's been submerged in his last several years. But when Joe basically brought me in, I was writing like political, like literally my life was like MSNBC. Like Politico, like that, like writing like political comedy was like what I did. So even though I hadn't written sketch comedy, I think what we've been able to do, at least to this point, is find a little bit of a balance where, like, we'll do a show, we'll do sketches that are funny for like maybe a Starkid space, but we also we invite like house team performers for the pit and other like pretty well respected older improvisers and sketch comedians from New York to the show. And they also leave saying, holy shit, like that was really fucking good. Like that's a really good sketch. That's kind of like the line we're trying to walk, where it's just like, yeah, if you're younger, whatever, like you'll like this, like this will be good. But if you're older and you're, whoever you are, like, I have a bunch of my buddies from college who come and they're like, that was really fucking funny.
Yeah.
That's funny because it's funny. It's not funny because it's like it plays to like a younger audience. So I think that's kind of a hard dynamic.
Yeah, but I mean, there's always the throwback to like Snape and.
Yeah, and that stuff
that's fun.
And that stuff, honestly, at the end of the day, like. he has to do, like,
right.
that's why Joe's fucking famous, because of Snape. Like, that's something I remember Pat told him. She's like, you're famous because of this. Like, of course it's going to be in your show.
Can we talk about, like, what you guys are, like, I guess, we can't talk about specifics because he'll get mad at me, but...
There's some stuff that's, like...
Well, tell me what you can tell me.
What I can tell you, oh my god. You know, I just talked to him last night. I told him, I was like, hey, I'm interviewing with Steph tomorrow, by the way. And I was like, what's off limits? And he, like, gave me, like, a rundown of stuff. And I take it for... It's funny because, here's the thing, like, Joe and I talk every day, all day. At least, like, our text message thing on our iPhones would probably print out to be, like, 100 pages long. Because we're just always going back and forth. And I forget what's known and what's... Because we just talk about it so often that, for me, like, I know my realities for what we're doing. Right. But I forget it's such a small percentage that people know or can know. That's kind of what we're doing. Like, even, like, whenever we can, we're just like, yeah, like, come do the fucking show. And, like, we'll figure it, like, we'll write for you. But it's kind of cool that way because we've done... I guess we're back on record now. Like, we've done... And we're back. We've done... we've done shows where... Like, we find out a couple hours before that we're going to have, like, 2 extra people. Mm-hmm. And then we literally just go through a whole script and we're just like, great, like, we'll give them this lines, we'll do this bit. Which is great, which I feel is very authentic to doing actual television. At least, like, late-night television, where there's a hard deadline. You film at this hour, you need this done by this point. And I can't really speak to, like, the specific career goals of Joe, like, in what aspects of, like, television or film or theater he really wants to do. But I know for myself, like, literally what I'm doing right now is what I want to spend my life doing, just for, basically for television, instead of for, like, an off-Broadway sketch comedy show. You know, like, I love doing it, but this is the first time where every aspect of, like, producing and writing is being, like, put into fruition in the exact moment that I'd want to, like, make my career and become, like, known. My biggest, you didn't ask this, but I thought I'd tell you, my biggest influence, but that, I don't know if that's the best word to describe, but I guess, like, the person, one of the guys who's, like, roadmap of his career I'd most want to follow is actually Kanye West. Not in music, per se, for film and television, but because when he was my age, when he was in, like, his young to even, like, later 20s, he was strictly a writer. He was a producer, he was a sound engineer, he was a lyricist in that he wrote and he just produced exclusively for other people. And he had the opportunities to become a solo artist when he was in his young 20s. And every once in a while he'd, like, rap on this guy's album and, like, drop a verse here. But basically he wanted to set his name as a producer, like, within the industry. So he wrote for, like, Jay-Z, he wrote for all these other people. So when it came time for him to finally become known as a solo artist, he had this backing of all these people in the industry who were like, yeah, of course you can come. Like, you've proven yourself as a writer. So he really built his name as, like, a behind-the-scenes guy. So now I feel like he's one of the most respected people, or hated people for a lot of reasons, obviously. But at the end of the day, like, respected people in music because he's proven that he's a writer and a producer. He's much more than just kind of the singer, you know, than the rapper that he is. So that would be how I want my career in television to go. Very much as I'd want to spend these next, like, 5 years, ideally, as, like, a writer and producer, almost exclusively. And then, and then kind of launch as an actor a little later on, I think.
Pretty good plan.
I think so.
Yeah. So, with JMoms. Wait, okay, so we know that he's hinting that he's got plans to go other places.
Yeah.
We
got some stuff.
Where do you want to go?
Oh, man. Where do I want to go?
Come to Europe.
I would love to go to Europe. I'd kill to go to Europe. Again, this all depends on, like, fan popularity. I have no idea.
Go to the UK.
Yeah, England would.
That's what I've heard, and I see stuff on Twitter from people, and I just heard, like, I've spoken to Amanda. Is that the young lady's name? Yes, who lives in Toronto. Yes. We talk sometimes about kind of like, where the fans are, kind of where we could go. I would do the world in a second. I would go back to Europe. I haven't been since college, but I'd love to do Australia, parts of Asia, I guess. But then, like, it sounds dumb, but, like, do you go do a whole show in English? Like, obviously we can't do a show in Mandarin. Like, I don't know. I have no idea.
Joe speaks Mandarin.
Joe actually, that's right. Joe does that. There's a panda hat. And I was going to be on the sideline. I'll just do like all physical comics. I don't speak a word of Mandarin.
You'll mime.
I'll keep mime the entire show. Like, why is there a mime in every sketch? I don't know.
Well,
yeah.
Now you need to like make a note. You need to mime sketch.
Yeah. Well, obviously, like I'd love to do like a North American thing to see all these amazing cities I haven't gotten to, but Europe like tops the list.
Now, he went to LA, so I think people are assuming he's looking to go to LA.
Yeah.
Are there other places like you're looking at? Like,
yeah, there's a few other places.
I guess like how big a tour do you think that you could try to do?
You know, it's amazing. You know, I spoke a lot with Czimmerman recently about their space tour, and I saw like the side. I mean, she showed me a photo from. I think she said it was like Boston.
Boston was crazy.
Biggest, so it was like
I went to Boston.
2,400 or something. Yeah. So she showed me
it was insane.
Great photo that someone took, kind of backstage of the whole ensemble on stage. I guess at the end of the show.
I think I've seen one of those.
But it's a photo, basically, of like pan out to the audience, like.
It was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we could never do a venue. Finding venues is really difficult. That's
you also need seating room venues for your show.
Yeah. So honestly, like we look for something like if we go to like a city we've never been, like we're confident we can sell out like 200 to 300. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I mean, we've talked about you know a lot of the places that the Starkids have gone on tour before because there's a reason they've gone. If there's a popularity of fan base in a place like DC or Boston, then there's no reason we couldn't sell out a 200 to 300 seat theater. Just you know the 2 or 3 of us who go. So I think a lot of those places, but nothing concrete. But then like also at the same time, we're planning to like shoot stuff here in New York. You know, we want to put up some more videos and post videos from old live shows and shoot. You know what I mean? There's like so much to do. I don't know. We kind of get overwhelmed sometimes, but like a great way.
Probably need a bigger team.
What's that?
You and Joe.
Yeah.
Probably need to get some people.
We need to get some people.
Yeah.
Well, we had to. Like his brothers now started helping out in like a manager situation. Like Matt's in every show now. He like helps out.
Matt's the photographer.
Deals with the night
managers.
Yeah. We have like people who come, and it's crazy. But it's going to continue growing. We do have I don't know when you're posting this interview, but I think it's tomorrow. We have a great write-up in the New York Times Magazine tomorrow. A full feature on our show.
Oh, that's Gabby's.
Gabby thing. Yeah.
We talked to.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, I remember. Yeah, you guys were there for that performance. I think it's tomorrow.
Because I wanted to read it.
Yeah, because the fact checker just called Joe this week. They have someone follow up and just wanted to make sure they did everything right.
Awesome.
So we, we're kind of hoping little things like that will kind of be like, oh shit, yeah, we'll take them on. We'll fly them out here and do a show. That'd be great.
So, I mean, I want you to stay here. I'm going to be so sad when they're on tour.
Just take it like that, right?
I'm going to be so sad when you're on tour.
Yeah. Yeah, New York's definitely the home base, though. I mean, without a doubt. I think it's cool Joe's here. I mean, this is like, I've always considered this home. Joe certainly hasn't, coming from Detroit, but, I mean, there's a reason, like, I moved back from California, although I had done pretty well out there. I lived out there only for like a year and a half when I was 21, 22, but I came back to New York, so I was like, I'm a New York guy. Like, this is where I feel like as an artist I can be most effective.